So we just came from the reunion, and I wanted to ask you, you mentioned something about going to the 50th anniversary, or not the 50th, but was Weezy Mama's 50th anniversary.
Oh, right,
Yeah.
right.
So tell me about that party
Well-
and how you were invited.
Yes. Well, we were dating, and it was in 1950, when were, they were married in 1902 or 3. Anyway, it might have been 1953, and they were having their 50th reunion, and Buddy and I were dating.
Anniversary.
Anniversary.
Yes, I'm sorry.
50th anniversary.
Their 50th
Yeah.
anniversary, and it was formal. I had to get a formal, and so I was there with Buddy as his date, and it was
And
beautiful.
Pat.
And it was they had the Christmas tree up, so it must have been around Christmas. I've forgotten the date of their wedding day. But I have those pictures, remember? So I was at the 3 pictures I have of our 3 anniversaries, because I was at Mom and Papa's anniversary, 50th, with Buddy when we were dating. And then I was, of course, at Sarah and Dad's 50th, and then our 50th. So I was at,
Well, you mentioned something about being there and then being at something at Sarah's. Was it a shower or at the island? So this was.
our shower was at the island when we got married. Buddy's neighbor, the Hubbards,
Yes,
Wilma Hubbard,
Wilma Hubbard.
gave us, they
From
had a
Savannah,
beautiful
Georgia.
home down at Colonel's Island, and they were really nice. They'd been friends with Buddy's folks for years in Savannah, and she gave us a big shower, and it was beautiful. We have a picture of course, me in the middle, and Buddy's mother and grandmother on one side,
Weezy Mama.
and my mother and my grandmother on the other side. Y'all got that? Y'all seen that?
Yes, I have.
So that was our shower.
So was that after the couple weeks that
Yes.
you lived in the house?
Yes. It
Okay.
might have been after Buddy left.
I think it was.
Yeah.
I'd already left.
He
the
wasn't
airport.
there, you're right, Buddy wasn't there. But they
So
gave
they
us
threw
the
you
shower.
a wedding
So
shower
it was just
after
kind of-
Daddy left to go to Denver.
So
Or
it's
San
kind of
Antonio.
ladies
San
only.
Antonio,
Yeah.
yeah.
He was at basic training. Yeah, so it was beautiful. And I have a really nice picture, I love that picture. And, yeah, that was down at Colonel's Island.
Who all was there?
Oh, well, Julie was there, my stepmother, and of course, like we said, our grandparents, Pat, just lots of friends of both of us, I guess family and friends. were
Even
there.
though Daddy was gone. they
Yeah.
all came.
Yeah.
Was everybody nice?
Everybody's real nice, we got some beautiful gifts. I still have a few things that I had gotten at my
What?
wedding shower. Yeah.
Um,
that was neat.
I remember you talking one day about making biscuits. You said
Well, yes.
this was when y'all were dating, so we're backing up a little
This
bit.
was your daddy's fault. We were dating, and so he bragged that I was such a good cook. Well, I was only 16. I had not cooked, but I had watched my grandmother, and so one Sunday we were having dinner with his folks, we were down at Sarah Dad's, and he came and said, "Oh, let Bobbie make some biscuits." She can make really good biscuits. Well, I had never made biscuits in my life. And so I had watched my grandmother, and she had this big wooden bowl. Of course, she made biscuits 3 times a day, and she kept this big wooden bowl full of flour, and so she would put a little hole in the middle and put her lard and her milk and cream and do it all with her hands, and then make these fabulous biscuits. After she got it all, ready, and she'd flour it and pinch them off and make, all this. Oh God. So Sarah said, "Oh, well, okay, we'll let Bobbie make biscuits." So I said, "Well, I need a big bowl." And I poured the whole 5 pounds of flour in that bowl.
The whole thing.
I didn't know you could do it any other way, because that's all I'd ever seen. I didn't know we could have just done a cup or two, and but anyway. So I
There
made
was no
biscuits.
recipe.
No, and I'm just trying to do it like I watched Mama do it, and anyhow, we had biscuits. They were good though, weren't they?
They were delicious.
But
they
you
were,
left
they were
Sarah
big.
with a 5-pound
And I-
bag of flour
yes.
in a big bowl.
So Sarah must have thought I was crazy. I'm sure after that she thought, what, that we got here, but that was all I'd ever seen Mama do. And I could have shot him because he's going, oh, Bobbie's a great cook. Let Bobbie, it was hysterical, but anyhow,
But
we
they turned
we
out
got
good.
over it.
Well, she
yeah.
was a great anything.
Well, he thought,
Whatever
he
she,
thought I
listen,
was
she
good.
was the apple of my eye, and I was the happiest guy in the world.
Yeah, it was neat, but anyhow, that was funny. Later, I didn't think it was funny at the time, but later we look back and think how funny it was.
How many times did you go to the island or visit when you were dating where you met his parents? And Dad, what experiences did you have with the Hinesville folks before you guys married?
Well, on weekends, we would go down sometimes to, what was that place where Joe Norris lived?
Fort Morris.
Fort Morris. It was beautiful down there. Sometimes we've got pictures of going out in the boat and taking pictures, had picnics and stuff. And Buddy taught me to drive on that road to the island.
Yeah.
I didn't have it. He taught me to drive. But anyway, of course, he was very patient then. But,
Are you implying that?
Yeah. Well, so we don't need to go there. So Mom and Dad, when Dad left and you had 3 months without him,
right.
Yes.
and you guys had been connected at the hip. You had school all day, and then you were together on weekends. Now he's left.
He's
You're
gone.
pregnant. You've
I'm
got
pregnant.
hormones flooding,
And I'm growing. of
and you're
course.
getting bigger.
And then after 3 months, you want me to tell about going to Denver. So he went.
Well,
to,
wait
Well,
a
she
minute.
was asking what it was like being in Georgia for those 3 months.
It was not fun. It was not good. But in fact, we had our prom, our junior prom. I already had a dress that I'd already bought to wear, and I loaned it to one of my girlfriends and actually drove her to the prom.
But it didn't fit you, right?
No, and I didn't go.
Jan got in your way.
Right.
And Daddy, you had something to say?
Well, I have a story to tell. I'm 17 years old. I've joined the Georgia Air National Guard. I'm an air policeman.
You were the Air National Guard. I thought you joined the Air Force.
Well,
Started in the what happened, one of the things that facilitated all of this was the fact that at 17, the folks signed a paper and to give me permission to join the Georgia Air National Guard.
Was that like ROTC at school or something?
No, it's
Well,
National
no,
Guard.
I did 2 weeks of active duty.
Yeah, National
So
Guard.
your parents signed, this was after you were
Yeah.
married?
No, before
Yeah.
we were married.
I was just 17 when I joined the
We
Guard.
were in high school, and he just told
We're
me he
still
wanted
in high
to
school.
join the National Guard, so they signed for him to do it.
Okay, I did not know this. I thought you joined
And
the
so-
Air Force right away.
It was one frightening experience to go off at 17, and I was sort of overwhelmed at first because I just felt like
Baby.
I'm just a boy,
He was.
and all these look at all these men, and it was quite scary for a while, but then once we
You were
started
in San Antonio?
in San Antonio,
For
once
Air
we
National Guard
yeah,
training.
once we started.
No, Dan. What happened was he had gone into the Air National Guard earlier when we were just in high school. You can do that.
Okay.
It's weekends and stuff. So he was already in the Air National Guard. So when he joined the Air Force, all he had to do, he didn't need anyone to sign for him again.
Oh,
He was already in the Guard. He just switched from the Guard to the regular Air Force.
I went on
then-
active
and
duty.
But when you left Mom,
He was
you
in
were going
regular.
to San Antonio to your
Yeah.
basic training.
In the regular Air
Force.
Regular
Basic
Air
training.
Force.
And it was, like I say, at first it
Then
was
there were
very
all those
frightening.
Older men and stuff.
But I had learned to drill
Right.
as a guardsman.
Uh-huh.
I had qualified with a .45 weapon, and pretty soon I began to fit in basic training. And I was called. I had a supervisory position the whole time I went through basic training, and I was already an Airman 3rd class. And so once I graduated, then I could put the stripe on the uniform.
Is that first,
And so,
first class?
Yeah.
So that's the position you started in, Dad.
Yeah.
and
Airman 3rd class.
Airman,
Right.
yeah.
When you got out of basic.
Right,
Yes.
no, it
And
was
then now
first
Mom's-
class when he got out of basic.
Right, that's
So-
what I just said.
Yeah.
Then Mom, you came.
Well, so he was 3 months, so it was August when he finished, and then he was stationed in Denver. So after basic in San Antonio, he was transferred to Denver, and so I went to join him in Denver. And of course, we had
How
seen.
pregnant were you?
I was, well, it was August, September, October, November, okay, 6 months, yes. Anyway, but it was kind of not funny, haha, but I wanted to be so cute when I got off the plane. So, to see him for the first time in 3
Yes.
months. And I went and bought the cutest little maternity outfit, I can see it now,
Oh,
it's navy
matching.
blue.
Beautiful
And of
blue.
course, it was 2-piece back then, they wore the long tops and
Mhm.
little pink gingham trim. I had a hat back, and then they wore the little pillbox hat,
And
navy
gloves?
blue gloves, matching shoes and purse, and the shoes had a little heel. And my grandmother said, honey, you need to take some other shoes because your feet might swell when you fly. Oh, no, I didn't want to mess up my outfit. So I did not, and I had to change planes in Chicago. My feet were, I took my shoes off and I really could hardly get them back on.
If you take them off, you can't.
Oh my goodness, I was in tears. And I thought, oh, if I'd only listened to Mom and put some comfortable shoes in my purse. But, so then Buddy was waiting in Denver and I had taken a special flight.
You had to go on
The
standby.
military-
Standby. No, it wasn't, it was regular flight, but I had a layover in Chicago, and then Buddy didn't know exactly what time we were in. There were no phones, no cell phones. He didn't have phones anyway. But, so he met every plane from Chicago all day, and I didn't get in till late,
I
and.
spent 11 hours
At
at
the
Stapleton Airport. I met every single plane, and would you believe the one plane I didn't meet?
No, you were there.
I know, but I
You were.
I wasn't at the gate waiting on
Well,
you.
you were right behind.
I had run to the gate,
Yeah.
and in fact,
Anyway.
the man who was doing the gate said, "Are you going to do this at every time a plane lands?"
So anyway, so we were in Denver, and you were born in Denver.
And there she was.
At Fitzsimmons.
Well, we were gonna talk about that. We were gonna
Yeah.
ask you, so when you're in Denver, it's your very first place to have as
Yes.
a married couple.
And we had.
And I
lots-
remember something about
Studio.
seeing Psycho. Was it after I was born or before?
That was after. That was later.
Okay, so then Mom goes into labor. Tell me about that.
Well, so we had this little apartment at first, like a pull-out sofa, and a little kitchen, little bathroom, whatever. And then we got a 3-bedroom apartment, which was bigger and nicer, and you were coming. So, and we didn't have a car, but I developed a high blood pressure, toxemia, just while I was pregnant. I didn't have it later, but so I went to see the doctor, and they put me in the hospital. The end of October. You were about 2 weeks early. Anyways, you were born November 2nd, and so I went in. I was in there over. Halloween in the end of October. But I mean, I didn't feel anything. We'd been out playing in the snow and running around, and then I went to the doctor the next day, and my blood pressure was up, and so they kept me in, and so you were born. But Daddy had to go to school. He was going to school from like 6 to 12.
6 in the morning till 12 at noon.
Yeah, and so
I rode the bus to the.
they got me all ready for you to be born. They said, you know, you were coming and all this, but you came really fast. So then the doctor thought, or we thought, and so by the time Buddy got
Did they
there,
break your water? And
they did
said-
break my water, and yes. And of course I'm sitting there alone, and I'm terrified, and you know, all by myself, and I was so young, and you know, I never had a baby before. I didn't know nothing about birthing babies. And so anyway, so then you came really fast, and when Buddy went on to his class, because the doctor said it would be late afternoon, if you don't
That first
worry.
baby.
Yeah, once they broke her water, they said it would be hours before
Yeah.
before
But
the
it was
birth.
Me that
Then
It
she
was
would
right
go
away.
into labor, but she went into hard labor almost immediately.
Immediately. And so when he got there at noon, we were back in the room, you were born, everything was, you know, but it was
I
wonderful.
had a girl,
We did.
a daughter.
And something kind of interesting, we were at Fitzsimmons Army Hospital in Denver, and Eisenhower was president, and Mamie, his wife, lived in Denver. That was her home. And they used to visit a lot. Yeah. And he was visiting in Denver and had a heart attack. So he was also at Fitzsimmons Army Hospital.
Took the whole 6th floor.
He had
of the
one floor,
hospital.
but we had, when
The
Mother got there,
maternity ward was on.
we were up above it, and so there were all kinds of people on the elevator, of course security too,
Secret Service.
but we
They
saw
wanted to
them.
know why you were going
Yeah,
or
But
why
that
you
was
were there.
kind
of-
Yeah, they were very careful.
and but it was, so we were there for a year.
And your mom came?
My mother came, and was there for about a week.
God
Was she-
bless her.
Yeah.
She was awesome, huh?
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
it-
Oh, yeah.
She knew all about birthing babies. And
Oh, yeah.
if we didn't, you didn't come, Jan, with a manual.
No.
Dang it, they never do.
And, but anyway, we got through it, obviously, somehow we all survived, and
How long was she there?
she was there about a week. She had to take a bus. Well, we didn't have any money, you know, to fly, and so
I think it was
she
3
rode a bus.
days travel to Denver and
Not-
then 3 days back to
Not
Hinesville.
totally,
It was long.
it was long.
It was
I would
long.
think
She spent
3
a-
days
Yeah.
would be probably right.
It was a long trip, and,
Mhm.
and of course, Kenny was just a baby, he was only 2.
Wow.
When, you know, Mother was, so she was like 38 or 39 years old when you were born.
Younger. Because
Well,
she
she
still
was
had
16.
Russell.
Oh,
32.
32 or 33 is what I meant to say. Yes, because 16 and then if I was 17.
Yeah.
So she was young.
And what are your early Denver memories like? So Jan's born, and you guys are living in Denver. How long did you stay in Denver before you left?
We were there totally about a year, weren't we, Betty?
Yeah, it was, the school
in
was
school.
54 weeks of electronics.
Okay.
And I went to school on the TM-61 Matador missile. It was the first missile in the United States inventory to carry a nuclear weapon.
Wow, Dad.
Oh.
And you were trained to
And they
From the
sent,
very
and
beginning,
they sent me
trained you.
from there to
Mhm.
Cape Canaveral, the launch facility
Orlando.
there.
Now we watched that movie about the Hidden Figures, and you saw the big computer that was in the room, and you said you've seen one of those big computers.
Yes.
What kind of electronics memories do you have from back in the day when the missile programs were first launched?
Well,
You can talk about it now.
I can tell you that the first, you know, there we are at the Cape, and the first thing that I got to do in the Air Force is go and watch them launch one of these missiles. And it was a F-86
I would
fighter.
like to qualify something. My entire life, you could never talk about this. It had to be 50 years
It had to be
later.
50 years before we could.
He has talked about things
discuss
that when I was a
classified
kid, he
information.
never ever could talk about.
Especially on Johnson Island and all that.
All of that was top secret.
Top
at
secret.
the
Right.
time, yeah.
Top secret. I mean, I had the highest classification you can have in the United States Air Force. For
Because
what-
you were in the missile
Listen,
program.
man.
in the
Yeah.
missile program, yes.
So when we watched the movie Hidden Figures, you were so familiar with NASA and the large computers.
That was
and
at Langley.
So the first thing that you did was you saw the launch at Cape Canaveral. What was the function? Like, what was your role?
I was a guidance system technician, and I worked on the guidance system of the electronic system. And so that was my first job, and of course it was overwhelming at first. And when we got there, and I wound up
What technology
in
did they have? I mean, guidance system. What?
They had 16 technicians, but most of them were already NCOs. I mean, I was a one striper, just straight out of school, and I had to go immediately in what we call the OJT program, on the job training program, and so.
This was in Orlando.
Right, to learn the intricacies of the components, and when something failed, then we had to change those components.
Now, I've seen pictures of circuit boards and circuit breakers that are like little thin cards that have little dots of metal and stuff on them. What were the type of things? It was more plug-in, wasn't it? That
Bigger.
It was bigger with vacuum,
tubes.
with vacuum tubes. It wasn't solid state. I got to go through all of that. I got to go through all of the computers at the United States Air Force, and I was a computer programmer as well. So
and it was all the little cards that went through the machine like
yeah,
we saw in the
started.
movie.
The first was an IBM machine, and all
That's
the
what they had in
programs
Hidden Figures.
were on cards.
And it filled the whole room, right, Dad?
Oh yeah.
And it had a lot of heat, so they had special air conditioners that
Special,
vented the
yeah.
room. And
Absolutely. Yeah.
Nothing was digitized.
no, there was no digital. So you were in Cape Canaveral for a time period, and then you were in Denver. But what was your next assignment?
Was George wasn't born in
No, you were
No.
a year old when we left Orlando, and we went to Victoria, Texas. And that's where George and Tony were both born, in
Okay.
Victoria. We were there for 4 years.
Okay, so that was the general. 4 years was the stint that you
Yeah.
normally
Yes.
did.
I had signed up originally for
Except
4.
those two things were schools.
Training.
Training.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I had cross-trained from the missile systems to a microwave technician. And I was on an aircraft
What was
control.
in Victoria?
In Victoria was an aircraft control and warning squadron.
Foster Air
And
Force
we-
Base had been
Yeah,
there.
Foster.
It's not there anymore.
No.
No, it's gone. But we were assigned to Foster Air Force Base, and we tell you a story. We got to Foster, and there had been a drought in Victoria, Texas for a long time, and we're putting in this big radar system. It much bigger than this room, and we had to sink holes. We had to dig holes. We had to use those to dig the hole.
Drill thing.
And so, brilliant idea. I said,
Jackhammer.
jackhammers. I said to the sergeant in charge, I said, well, let's fill the holes with water,
It'll get softer.
and it'll soften the ground, and so it'll make things a whole lot easier. So he thought it was a good idea. So we got a big old hose, and we filled all of these dead men that hold the big antenna in place. We filled them up. We came back after the weekend, and the sergeant called me in and said, Blake, look what you did.
Well,
We had to take buckets and bail
water
that ground was so hard
wouldn't.
that
It wouldn't even
it
soak.
wouldn't absorb the water. we had to
So
bail.
Victoria's close to the coast, it would have been
Yeah.
sandy.
Yeah.
It turned, I mean, it was like rock, you know, and it was so
That's
embarrassing.
such a good idea.
Here I had this great
Well, he
idea.
took your idea, so
Yeah,
it's,
then
it's on him.
Then I had to
Yeah.
get in that hole and get wet and
Yeah.
but with a bucket, take all that water out of it. Anyway, that
So you were
then
there 4 years, and both Tony and George
Yes.
were born there.
yeah, and
So George was born first.
Yeah, in '57.
So tell me about that.
And so, you know, we lived in an apartment, and
I was 2.
you were 2, and so he was born on
at the civilian hospital.
December 11th, right? No.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, December the
I'm
11th.
sorry, George. Anyway, yes, December 11th, and of course in the middle of the night and all, we go rush to the
Of
hospital
course.
and all. But anyway, we were so happy to have a girl and boy, and then about a year later we had Tony, and so then we had rented a little house. It was really nice and comfortable, and we loved it. It was so good, and we had our little redheaded baby, and so we had our family, and so the next place we went was Cheyenne, Wyoming, and of course Tony was a baby. She was only about 3 months
Yeah.
old, right?
One of the things we did with Tony, it looked like we were going to populate the world
We don't have to get into
with
that.
Blakes, you know. Well, but I think it's interesting. We got the doctor to give us permission to tie Bobbie's
Well, it
tubes
was his
because there
suggestion.
was no birth control in those days.
There was, honey.
What was there? A
Rhythm
diaphragm?
method or
Whatever.
Well, then
You didn't have.
that's
Didn't
Yeah,
have-
so you could-
whatever.
that's all.
Not easy. It
That's
was different.
life, and
So anyway, but the doctor did not want, it was not, I had, a few
If
problems.
it was a Catholic hospital,
So
they
So
he
cesarean
thought it was a
section.
good idea. He did a cesarean and tied my tubes and so, but that's not what somebody wants to hear about. Anyway,
Well, you didn't
I
have
don't
any
wanna
more
talk-
children after that.
no, we had our family. We were very happy,
that's right. It was-
and
And things were so much wonderful after that.
So there's all these fun things that I have heard so many times, but that I feel like I was there, and I was there, but I was too really young to remember.
yeah.
And I don't know whether the stories are my real memory or whether it's just the pink kitchen, the pink bathroom,
All right.
sitting
Oh.
backwards on the toilet, you playing in the snow, us looking out the window, and the mouse. Let's jump into
Oh
that
my
time.
gosh, okay, so we went to Cheyenne, Wyoming. Tony was a baby. We were there 4 years. Jen started kindergarten there. And so, anyway, yeah, the mouse story, okay. Well, we had a mouse. We had a beautiful trailer. Everything was pink. All the appliances, the stove, refrigerator, sink.
8 feet, 55 feet long, 8 feet
Yeah,
wide.
for
It was the
time,
biggest
it was
trailer
very
made
nice.
at the time.
The bathtub, the toilet, everything was pink. I mean, we thought it was pretty, but
I remember that.
yeah. But anyhow, and George was, what, about a year old, Tony,
Yeah.
you were a few months maybe, or whatever. But a mouse got in a cereal box, and we were all terrified. We could hear it in the box, and George, I think, wanted to
George
see
had it, yeah.
Yeah.
And he opened it.
I
of course,
remember.
the mouse,
The mouse
jumped
came
out.
flying out.
Oh, we all were jumping on chairs and everything.
Cereal went
Oh,
everywhere.
it was hysterical. But anyway, we did tell that story to Tony. She remembered it. It was funny.
And then sitting on the back of the sofa, leaning out the window,
Oh, wow.
Daddy would play in the snow.
With
We
our
were in
little friends,
Wyoming,
our
so there was
dogs, our
snow.
little dogs, and they'd
Yeah.
go outside and do all kind of shows. The kids be so cold.
What you don't realize is we were Georgia crackers.
Yeah.
Right.
I saw my first snow in Denver. I had never seen snow before. And suddenly we found ourselves in Cheyenne, Wyoming.
Yeah.
And the climate was
It
just,
snowed
I
so
mean,
much.
it snowed on the 4th of July.
You had
And the
blizzards
wind.
on Mother's Day.
We did.
2
We
years
did.
in a row.
2 blizzards,
So
yeah.
I can see y'all, the three of y'all. We had this picture window, like, and they would get up on this couch, this Danish modern orange, I had orange in mine,
Yes.
it was, anyway. And Buddy would go out in the snow with our little dachshund, and all I could see was his tail. And they'd go out in front of the kids, in front of the picture window, and put on shows and play. And
You had that park at the,
Yes.
at the
Yes.
Air Force that was
Yeah, with
totally
Wolverine
snow-proof.
fur that won't freeze.
yeah,
But you know what? We got stir crazy.
yeah.
The weather was so bad,
Yeah.
you couldn't get out of the
Well,
house. I mean,
well, y'all had snowsuits and boots, and we did get out, but Daddy, you know, when it was really bad, he would go out and do
And we
put
got
on
sick.
performances.
We had
And Fred.
lumps and measles and.
Oh, you did. Y'all had. Yeah.
Yes.
And then what was your job there, Dad, when you were?
I was the same, I had literally the same job. I was a guidance system technician, and we had the first IBM computer ever, and it was card stock, and we had 36 operational Atlas intercontinental ballistic missiles. We were the very first operational missile system in the United States Air Force.
And that was Warren.
It's Warren Air Force
Francis
Base.
E. Warren.
Yeah.
It's not there anymore.
And we worked,
Shiny.
Oh yes, it
It
is.
still is?
Yeah.
And
Okay.
now
We
we
go
have
there.
the mountain in Colorado Springs,
with,
where a lot of the stuff goes on.
But we.
But you were involved in some very important incidences and
the
experiences.
Cuban Missile Crisis.
Yes.
I was
happened
there.
while we were there. Yeah.
I was on, they called us out to do it, you know, and so anyway, it was an unbelievable time, but it was scary. I mean, I was
They
sitting
were.
in that blockhouse under guard, armed guard, watching, and I worked on what they call the countdown clock. It was the X time clock, and we had raised 2 missiles up.
It was on
During the
ready.
Cuban
It was
Missile
on
Crisis.
ready. It was very
We
scary.
raised 2 missiles, we loaded fuel, and I'm listening and looking at the countdown clock, and I can see they've started a countdown. And what I'm thinking is, I'm sitting in a blockhouse, y'all. I'm safe and sound. There's no way, if a nuclear war starts, I'm gonna be fine.
But
But
we're
y'all
in-
were in a trailer
In a mobile home.
in,
Yeah.
in Cheyenne, Wyoming.
Yeah.
I
Miles
mean,
away.
it
So
was-
many miles.
and this
It was
whole
You
real.
couldn't
thing.
leave.
It
It was
was-
real.
It was real.
Absolutely.
It
And
got
you
real.
were right
We
there.
came within minutes of being in a
Pushing that
nuclear
button.
holocaust.
And so how did that come down, Dad? Did a phone ring or what?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
They called it
A
off.
buzzer went, and then all of a sudden there was this flash message, beep 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 beep, and then the guard came running in with a weapon, and all of the maintenance people that had gone out with me. I was with a team. Anyway, we were all sort of herded to the side while they authenticated the launch codes directly. And then when the launch officer said authentication, you know, we went to what's called DEFCON 1, which just means that we were ready to launch
Happening.
missiles. Yeah.
But then what
Bombers
happened
were already
to,
scrambled in the
what
air.
happened to call it off? How did you know it was called off?
They came down, we were in the basement. They moved us down into the basement under guard, and it lasted about 6 hours. And they came down and said, and of course,
Everything went green.
I knew they had already unloaded the fuel off the 2 missiles they had loaded.
You could
And
hear
how did
them
you know
doing
that? How did you know
Because of the countdown clocks.
that? Okay.
And there were 3 missiles on that particular site, and so 2 of them, we raised 2 of them and got them ready to launch. We actually loaded fuel.
And these are missiles carrying a
Nuclear
nuclear.
warhead.
And
warhead.
you don't know for sure, but they were probably going to Cuba.
No,
this was
I
the
think
Cuban
they
crisis.
were going to Moscow.
Really? You think we were going to attack Moscow?
Yes.
They were the ones in Cuba.
Right. They were the ones in Cuba.
Yeah.
Wow.
We also knew that there were Russian agents assigned to Cheyenne, Wyoming, that monitored all of our missile systems. And so when we raised our missiles,
They
the
knew.
Russians knew for sure
That you've
that
done it.
that this was not a drill. You
Right.
don't load fuel on a
Nuclear
nuclear tipped missile.
ICBM.
ICBM, unless you're gonna use it.
Missile.
And so I think Cuba got the message, and then the Russians backed off. If you go back and look
And
at
that whole
history.
thing was kind of played out by the Russians.
Yeah,
And so
Well,
you know
that was
based on,
Kennedy.
but you know based on the fuel that it wasn't just going to Cuba. That
right.
missile was going farther.
Yeah, Cuba was that was an easy shot for
Right.
us,
Right.
but they loaded the full capacity, and that meant that we were looking at 7,000 miles
Wow.
away from Cheyenne.
And so you were a part of that. That's pretty
Yes.
amazing, Daddy.
It was scary. It was scary beyond belief.
Right.
I mean, I literally shook in my boots when I
6
realized.
hours you spent down there not really knowing that your whole family was in a
Yes.
trailer over in.
And I knew y'all, if it started, I was gonna survive and y'all wouldn't have.
Right.
And because you were
Wow.
where the missiles were, you'd have been the first strike.
Yeah.
Right, yeah,
And the Russians knew the missiles
Yeah.
were there.
yes.
Yeah.
Oh, they knew
And they'd only
every,
fired
they knew
2,
where
so there
everything
was
was.
another one there and
yeah.
Well, on a lighter note.
Yeah.
There is a missile site, right here outside of Greeley,
Really?
that Buddy used to come
I
and
serviced
service
it
when we were
3
in
times.
Cheyenne in the late 50s. So that's kind of interesting.
It's
We've been out
interesting
there-
how you've come full circle.
Yes.
Because you started in Denver. That was the
Yes.
first assignment. You
Yes.
landed, Mother,
Yeah.
pregnant with Jan in
Right.
Denver,
We
Colorado.
left with Jan
Daddy
and
serviced the
never
missiles in
took
Greeley.
Daddy back
Yes.
in Denver or
and
Colorado.
here you are back in.
Here you are in
Yeah.
Greeley where Daddy serviced the missiles
Yeah.
from
it
that
is.
experience. And
It's kind of interesting.
So
Now
you
I
had
could
both
tell you a
Tony-
story about Greeley if you wanted. Do you have time?
Making sure.
This is, every time I went to the site, I was a staff sergeant and I had a team of technicians that worked. And I told you, we were working on the
Is this where you
countdown
took
clock.
Hayden?
yes,
We were working on the countdown clock. And so at 2 o'clock in the morning, they had a problem at the Greeley missile site. And they call me and I'm sound asleep. So at 2 o'clock, they wake me up and they say, we've got a problem at the Greeley site. Bring your calibration team in. We've called all of your people and then we'll give you the work order and you can take the equipment out to Greeley to service the Greeley site. Now it's early in the morning. When you go out to a nuclear armed missile site, we have a code and a duress code. Okay, and the only people that know it are the launch officer and me. So they gave me the code and we drove the whole team all the way to Greeley. We got to Greeley. There was snow everywhere. And so I'm the team chief, so I get out and I go to the gate and I show my badge, right, to the launch control officer. He sees the badge. He knows that I'm the person that's coming out to service a missile. And he says to me, give me the launch code. And I forgot the launch code and the duress code. I knew them both. And so I said to the launch control officer, this is very embarrassing, I said, but I know the 2 codes. Can I give you both of the codes? He said, no, you can't do that. Give me the code. He says, you got a 50-50 chance of getting it right, but you have to give me the code. And so I gave him the wrong code. So one time I got a letter of reprimand in the United States Air Force, the only time I ever got a letter of reprimand. But I gave him the wrong code the guard, they declared a broken arrow, which means that a nuclear missile was at risk and possible sabotage.
Oh my gosh, like
So
you were Russian spies.
So the guard at the gate, there was a guard at the gate, all of a sudden the horn goes off, and this kid comes wheeling out of there. He's probably 17 or 18 years of age with a weapon, and he says to me, "Get on the ground." And I said, "This is ridiculous.
No.
You know, here's my badge. I made a mistake, yes." And all my guys are sitting in this truck, you know. Anyway, we all wound up on the ground, and it was the one time that's probably the only time I really goofed up in the United States Air Force.
The only time.
Well, they put a letter of reprimand for
time
6
you
months in my record.
Had a formal,
Well, I mean, a nuclear launch code, Dad,
Okay.
is a pretty serious thing.
2 o'clock in the morning.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, okay.
I mean, the launch. I still to this day think the launch officer should have said.
Do you
"Well, give me
remember the
both."
2 codes?
I knew both codes.
But tell us, what are they? It doesn't matter. It's
I don't
yours.
remember it.
Oh, now
It's
you
so
don't
long.
remember.
But
Of course you
You
don't.
gotta reverse.
I mean,
so when y'all left,
Yeah.
okay, we're gonna wrap it up.
Yeah.
till we meet again, kids
Yes.
and family.